I want to offer my condolences and just say that I am so sorry that you sent your kids to school on that day like any other parent would, expecting them to return. And somehow, you know, we failed to live up to that promise to you.
That was Broward School Superintendent Robert Runcie doing something that Sheriff Scott Israel failed to do in front of the Stoneman Douglas Commission: take responsibility for the failings of the school district. We are joined once again by Ryan Petty, whose daughter Elena was killed in the massacre last February. Ryan, I know that as you were in the commission watching that moment was important for you. Why?
It was important. It was the first time that I heard an admission that there were failures from the school district. I've heard Mr. Runcie indicate he was sorry for what had happened before, and I don't doubt that for a moment. But it's important to recognize that there were mistakes made and there were failures that contributed to this. This was a preventable massacre, and if we can't recognize that there were failures, how are we going to fix it?
What stands out in your mind among those failures?
The warning signs. There were some unreported warning signs that we went through on the commission, but there were also a number of warning signs that were provided to the school district specifically, the mental health community that was assisting the Cruz family, and there was a massive mental health effort. So I know our focus is on school district and the sheriff's office, and there were interactions with law enforcement. But clearly the school administrators knew that he was a threat. Multiple times brought weapons or bullets and things onto the school campus. He had been violent towards other students. There were multiple opportunities to introduce Cruz to law enforcement, and those were opportunities that were either ignored or missed. And the hardest thing for me was to see that some students had come forward and gone to assistant principals and in one case the principal and said, we think this kid's going to shoot up the school, and they were told to go Google search autism as an example. If we're going to ask our students to say something when they see something, we can't dismiss what they tell us. I want
to play another part of the meeting that I think illustrates a lot of the concerns that I had as I was watching this. This was a part of a discussion about hard corners. Okay. It's parts of the classroom that are set up to where they're located at an angle so that if someone looks in the door or tries to shoot through the door, the kids in that corner, which is supposed to be marked off, would be safe. Mm-hmm. 9 months have passed. For 2 years before the shooting, there were warnings and recommendations to implement hard angles, hard corners in the schools. And 9 months later, we're still waiting for it. And let's play that sound, hard corners.
We're currently working with our security risk consultant to develop some protocols and processes around that, and we intend to implement guidance to schools this year of how to create those safer zones or areas within classrooms and have those delineated.
I don't understand why, and again today you said you're going to give guidance. I mean, it just doesn't make any sense to me. If kids died in that room because the teachers did not make a safe space, why not do it?
The facts are the facts, is that there's at least one student who died on the line. Yeah. There are others who couldn't get into those, and I'm going to ask you to create a policy, not a guidance, but a policy that mandates that the schools under your direction have a hard corner so that these kids can be safe.
We talk about urgency before, and I like Robert Runcie. I think he's a good man at his heart. I think he cares, but it's the bureaucracy. It's this notion of I have to deal with stakeholders and then try to implement a policy and try to get things passed, and then I'll do a guideline. Just get it done, right?
Well, I told Mr. Runcie, nothing he does as superintendent, nothing the school district does matters if the students don't come home. Now, Mr. Runcie has called this the 9/11, right? for schools everywhere. And I would hope that he would look beyond the bureaucracy. It doesn't take much, as Sheriff Galtieri said, to implement a policy to say, let's tape off, let's mark those hard corners, let's get the junk out of the classrooms. As we looked at pictures of the classrooms on 214, there were desks and cabinets and just junk in these safe areas. And as Sheriff Galtieri indicated, there was one student that died on the line. There wasn't enough room and she got pushed back out. That doesn't cost anything, Jim.
Yeah.
It doesn't cost anything. And when you listen to the superintendent's language, there's a lack of urgency. In fact, one of the sheriffs asked him to define sense of urgency for the commission. We didn't see it. I still don't see it. I hope he took his 90 minutes in front of us and went home and did some soul searching and perhaps looked up sense of urgency. There's a lot he can do with the stroke of a pen.
There's also lack of accountability. We've seen very few people, whether it's in the sheriff's department or in the school district, be held responsible for mistakes that they made, mistakes that are widely known now, that have not been dealt with. Like the principal, like others, like the assistant principal, people like that. What would you like to see done soon in terms of holding people accountable both in the sheriff's department and in the school district?
So I want to be very clear. The superintendent and the sheriff both have all the information they need to act. And my expectation is that they will act and act swiftly. Only 2 very low-level security monitors have been punished, if you will, for their mistakes made that day.
Who didn't even have training, we found out, but keep going.
But didn't have training, but recognized that there was a shooter coming on campus, and they were punished. But again, the warning signs that were communicated to the school administrators, those administrators are still in place today. So I would like to see the superintendent launch an investigation. He's got all the information he needs. Now, I saw reported in the media the other day that Lisa Maxwell from the Principals Association is pushing back. I'd like to see Anna Fusco from the Broward Teachers Union step up, because when you see those teachers, they were left on their own to fend for themselves, and I'd like to see the teachers union defend those teachers. We
gotta go. We're not leaving the subject here. We'll be on it continuously. This is too important. Ryan Petty, thank you for coming in. We'll be right back after the break.